Another big movie from '81, at least released in North America in '81, was The Road Warrior, the sequel to Mad Max.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the first Mad Max did not perform very well in America.
Yeah.
So they just, in other territories it's called Mad Max 2. Here it was just called The Road Warrior, and none of the advertising referred to Max at all.
Okay, I'm just going to call it right now. Raiders of the Lost Ark and Mad Max in the same year. This is the best year for stunts in the history of movies. Between the two of these, how many stuntmen must have perished providing us with amazing entertainment? Because the ending sequence of The Road Warrior is unparalleled in movie history.
Yeah, we'll see. We're getting a new one next month, so...
How awesome is that?
I'm really stoked for it.
Yeah, I think it is amazing. You know, one thing that obviously is burned into my mind about The Road Warrior is just massive chase, you know? That huge car battle. I mean, it's just incredible. And like you're saying, I imagine many people were hurt in that because it looks so realistic, right? Everything that's going on there, it just looks like there's actual carnage going on in the desert. And you know, this is a world that... like you said, too, I remember seeing it as a kid. Not many people knew about it. This is a world that fascinated me immediately. You know, I'd never really seen many post-apocalyptic type movies or shows, but this is one that it was visceral, right? Like you were like really in it. Like you could kind of taste the dirt, and the cinematography in it, the colors and everything were muted but beautiful. Like, you know, it was amazing.
It looks and feels so different from the first Mad Max, but I think it like makes sense because a lot of time has passed. And people are like going crazy, and so like they seem like these outlandish cartoon characters, but I think it's just because everyone is losing their minds.
The collapse of society and folding into this like demented dystopia has just destroyed people. Like there's without structure, without law or anything like that. I mean, anarchy sounds like a cool thing to a high schooler with a T-shirt, but. That's the result. That's what you get. Is like these insane car battles and people with like messed up eyeballs and gold teeth.
And like metal hockey masks.
I mean, the fact that Humongous is it's not just a hockey mask, it's like a metal hockey mask. And people are running around in chaps with no pants. And there's like some weird kid in leather with a razor boomerang. And there's people, this is the movie that established.
This is just San Francisco, Jerry.
This established like dudes in hockey armor driving like cars with spikes on them as the future apocalypse. This is where those tropes really permeated our culture. The ones that, when you think of like the dusty desert apocalypse now, this is where we got that.
I remember I wanted a gyrocopter so bad after seeing this movie.
For sure.
That's why I love flying one in Fallout 4.
Because of that.
I mean, in Far Cry 4. I'm sorry.
So I was like, wait a
Fallout 4.
You played something I haven't.
Cheat codes, IGN.com exclusive.
You can see the influences of this movie in games like Fallout or in Borderlands, for sure. Like Borderlands.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there were a lot of imitators and things that came
Fallout,
afterward.
right? There would be no Fallout with you know the Mad Max series.
And there was like to me, I was the same way, Tal. Where this was sort of like the beginning of my obsession with post-apocalyptic stuff. And I remember seeing movies like A Boy and His Dog, which were kind of Mad Maxy, but also weirdly sci-fi. Because it's like, oh, let's add a talking dog to it. But this is a trope that they've gone back to so many times, like that war-torn landscape. Like even like Book of Eli kind of did it to an extent. And I love that theme. I'm so glad that we're getting a new Mad Max. It's fascinating to me.
It also does a neat thing with the violence where it's the visceral violence of this movie is different. Now when we do visceral violence in films, a lot of times it's slow and agonizing and we're watching every detail. Whereupon when something violent happens in this, it's almost more realistic. It happens very quickly. And even if it's bloody, it happens instantaneously. Often they'll even speed up the film. At the moment the violence is taking place to give it the sense of impact. And I greatly prefer that to kind of what we get now where it's just this long,
slow, like,
or something even like, again, I think about The Mountain and the Viper and the slow, you know, in Mad Max that would have been like that and it would have been better.
One thing I really remember liking about the movie too is just that all the technology was very realistic but very well thought out, very smart, and seemed semi-futuristic, but the kind of these things that you had to patch together based on, you know, whatever scraps that you could find. Like the Interceptor, the car, was just like, you know, everything built in, and you know, you're looking at, you know, even their costumes that they wore, you know, like gathering scraps and putting together as much armor as you can, and it just looks weird and disjointed and dystopian, but it all kind of fits together and makes sense too.
Yeah.